Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the next creepy episode of Yoko and Frisky's Dimensional Rift. I'm your host, next to my co-host. Actually, he's not the co-host. He's the brains behind this. My name's Jen Yoko, and we have the boss of the bunch, MC Mario Kart Frisky.
Oh my god, happy Halloween, guys. Can you believe it's October? Jesus, it felt like yesterday was just September. It's crazy. It's a beautiful season. I'm happy to be here. I went pumpkin carving yesterday for the first time since I was like 8. And man, I feel rejuvenated. It was a gluten-free pumpkin, by the way. Just to make things.
God, I love it.
Yeah. So that was fun. And we got a special episode for you. You know, we usually do the fan fiction theater, but we're going to switch it up. And we're going to talk about some creepypasta today. And we got a special guest. You may know her from some other podcasts we've done in the past. And, you know, she just happens to be a friend of ours. And she has nothing better to do. So give it up for Twilight.
Twilight! Are you having your Christian girl autumn like you've always wanted?
Oh, I could drink a pumpkin spice latte and fucking do my house.
I love it.
Are you still playing your crappy mobile game?
Stop judging me.
I'm judging you hard.
Let me have my stupid happy.
Fine, I'll give it to you. Today is the October the 25th, and if you don't have your Halloween costume by now, then you ain't getting invited to any damn parties. But there ain't no parties this year because of COVID, so it doesn't matter.
I'm a Game Boy.
She is a Game Boy. I seen it.
I'm going in my birthday suit.
That's the best suit of all.
But I got a question for y'all. Like, I was talking about this with somebody else, and we're like, there's not enough Halloween themed music out there. Why is it that we just only have like the Monster Mash, Thriller, and the Ghostbusters theme song? Like, we need more Halloween songs. Don't you agree?
10 out of 10. I agree.
We have spooky, scary skeletons. That's all I need.
So sincere. Oh.
I mean,
And we have all of Alice Cooper's music.
She's reading you to filth right now. I don't know.
Well, Will Smith had that Friday, Nightmare on Freddy, Nightmare on Elm Street. He had a bootleg Nightmare on Elm Street song, but they didn't use it for the movie, but he did a video for it anyway. That's like, nobody talks about that song, but it's really good.
It is. I discovered it through a friend who likes horror films, and they were clicking, I guess, on the YouTubes, and that popped up.
Yeah, and it's the perfect time to bring that up because the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air reunion's coming out next month. And they have the original Aunt Viv 1.0. So you're gonna get Fresh Prince into the Aunt Viv verse.
Yay!
But speaking of which, I'm still doing my Keanu Reeves marathon. Do you guys want an update on that? Update on my Keanu-thon? Yeah. All right, cool. So he had like 7 movies he did in 1986, and most of them were made for TV. So he did this movie called Young Again, which we know as the original to this movie 17 Again, starring Zac Efron.
Zac Efron? I love that spice.
But that one was really good. It's Keanu pretending he's an old guy, and he's like, "Whoa, I'm young again. I could go to the club and hit on babes." And he goes back to school and he joins the basketball team, and then he finds his old high school sweetheart. So he ends up dating her daughter at first, but then he starts to go after her and transition. It's good stuff. It's a Disney movie.
Oh, what?
I bit my mouth when you said that.
No. I'm going to watch it now.
Sounds like a Christian fun.
Yeah, it's on YouTube if you want to watch it. But then he did a movie called Act of Vengeance. He's in it for like 5 minutes. And it's about a freaking election. So I was like, great. And long story short, the guy that wins the election, his rival sends Keanu as a hitman to like take him out. So Keanu goes there on Christmas Day and kills him and his entire family. And that's how the movie ends. It's a bit of a bummer.
Oh, that's very...
Yeah, and then...
It's an interesting kind of event.
What the hell? You eating?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
And then he did a movie called...
Is that like telling of the future?
Maybe.
Let her eat her Lucky Charms.
I want some.
I'm having Chinese food pizza, the best meal.
Wow. Then he did a movie called Brotherhood of Justice where he's in high school and the principal is like, we need a group of guys that can like make sure that the high school doesn't get vandalized. So these dudes like, they become vigilantes, and whoever's like a dick in high school, they either beat up or they wreck their car, or in one instance they stab the guy just because I don't even remember why, but they just stab them on school campus and act like nothing happens. It's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah. Aunt Becky from Full House is in it. You know,
Oh,
she's the love interest.
she's the love interest of everyone.
Yeah. And then there's Babes in Toyland, which is like a bootleg Wizard of Oz.
I remember, but I really don't.
Yeah. I was watching it. I got bored. I was literally like, you know what? Let's see what's new on Pornhub. Let's see what's going on. And I find out there's like a freaking like 2.5 hour director's cut of this movie. I'm like, who needs an extra hour of this movie? Who's pining for that?
I do.
Of course.
It puts me to sleep. What do you want?
I'd rather watch The Wiz. Get on down the road. And then he did a movie called River's Edge, which is basically he plays a high school guy, and his friend murders one of their friends, and they're like, "Oh, that sucks," and he attempts to hide the body, and it's really weird. Everybody's just like being emo throughout the movie, but you know, it's the 80s. I guess that's how it was. And before I started this podcast, I was watching The Night Before, which also has the aunt from Full House in it. And it's literally The Hangover before The Hangover. Like, he wakes up with amnesia, and he's like, what happened? And then he keeps flashbacking to, you know, the day prior. So that's it. That's where I'm up to.
Nice.
Yep, I'm still in the 80s. This guy made a lot of movies. But it's cool. It's cool to see his range.
That's awesome.
But anyways.
Has he like grown up? Like actually physical changes yet? Or
I will say this. The dude has magnificent hair. Like, I'm jealous of his hair. It's so nice. It's like he wakes up with perfect hair.
yeah. Like every movie he's in, he has amazing hair.
I know, man. Like, Jesus Christ.
Irritating.
Like, he had the John Wick hair in the 80s. Like, it's nuts. And it looked better then.
So, you didn't answer my question. Did he actually do any physical change? Like,
What are you talking about?
because so far, from what I've seen, I'm pretty sure he's like immortal or a vampire or something because he hasn't changed.
No, the dude, he just has good genes, man. Like, he's in his, like, while I'm watching, he's in his 20s, but he barely looks any
Doesn't
different.
age.
He just has no facial hair. That's the only difference.
Yeah, he's a vampire.
Oh, I forgot to mention, he did a movie called Under the Influence, which is about an alcoholic like dad. And oh man, he performs some like really over the top scenes in that. Like he goes, spoiler alert for this stupid TV movie. The dad dies and he gets mad and he takes his gun and he takes a bottle of alcohol and like throws it on his grave and shoots the bottle. And he's like, "How could you?"
Oh, poor Keanu.
Yeah, he's in a lot of fucked up families in his early movies. That's like the theme I'm noticing.
I want to meet him so I can hug him now.
Oh,
He comes to Connecticut a lot, apparently. He shopped at my Trader Joe's.
Yeah, because that's where his coffin is.
that's where everybody's future coffin is, Connecticut.
Wow, don't say that. I don't want to have to go back there.
Well, you're going to be a vampire, so it'll be fine.
Speaking of vampires,
So,
me and Kristen watched Vampires versus the Bronx, or well, she more like she heard it while I watched it.
Well, yeah, because my Discord kept being stupid and kept freezing.
oh. Did you watch it with Pesky too, or was it just you two? Because I was not feeling well on Friday.
He
Yeah,
died.
he was there, and all you need to know is like there's a scene where they fight vampires with adobo and a Timberland boot.
Damn.
Yeah, it's pretty great.
That sounds fantastic. I did want to see it with you guys.
Oh well, we can watch it again. We'll watch it again at some point.
Yeah.
Okay. I think I was legitimately sick on Friday. I had blood drawn, and then after that, I was like, "Oh wow, I gotta lie down."
But anyways, let's get on with the show. So Kristen, you want to start us off with your story?
Yeah, alright, hold on. Let me open it again. I was looking at stupid things.
What? You were looking at a mirror?
Oh,
I was looking at you.
You're looking at my pumpkin.
Today, bitch.
Ooh, I'm telling.
Yeah, I was looking at porn.
Jesus.
Alright.
You're watching Babes in Toyland too?
Well, again, why are you gonna judge me?
Yo, I literally was like, yo, I need to see like what's new on Pornhub. That shit was
Some people
boring.
just play with their cats on there now. Like, I'm not joking. Like, there's like people just playing with their cats on Pornhub.
Yeah, there's a nice guy on there that, like, I don't remember his name, but he like offers the camera a towel and stuff. Like, as soon as he gets out of the shower, he's like, "Oh, sorry, here's a towel," and that's the video, and it's glorious.
Oh,
And
that
I
apparently,
like that guy.
that sounds like my idea for an After Dark account where it's just pictures of me brushing my teeth or putting on my pajamas and just clipping my toenails, like doing the most boring things before bed.
that's
Oh
so
my,
funny.
that's pretty much what he does. Like, he's like, I think he's a ginger, and he's super nice. He's adorable, like, and he's like super nice to the camera.
Are you gonna have an OnlyFans account where you only like brush your teeth on there?
Ooh, I'd pay. Brush them teeth, daddy.
Mr. Spotted.
Come on, senpai. Notice that fucking mistake.
There ain't no gingivitis here. Only smiley teeth.
Oh, and then you can show feet.
Anybody want to see those crusty curls?
That's terrible. I was a YouTuber I watched, and she's the Lolita, and apparently she just had a shot with her. She's just wearing her Gothic Lolita outfit, and somebody took her feet photos and put them on like some fetish site, and one of her friends found out, and they were like, your feet are on here, and she's like, flamboyancy, what do I do?
I don't know, put them on ratemyfeet.com.
What, am I gonna get paid for it?
Depends on how many views you get, really.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
If you got good feet, people like that shit.
Yeah, my ex had an Instagram account of her feet that I stumbled upon by accident. She's trying to sell. She was trying to sell how to sell her socks.
Like, if you
That's
got
what
it,
I'm saying.
want it, I guess. Like, hey.
Well, I guess Disney World ain't paying the bills for her.
If I had nice feet, I would sell pictures too. Like, hey, thanks for heating my apartment.
Dang.
Not like I don't walk around barefoot anyway. Might as well make these things pay for something.
I can't do it. My feet are too ashy right now, and I would set a flame to that camera.
Yeah, you need to take care of your feetsies.
You could
I've been
have.
putting the lotion you gave me, and it's been helping, but still, I don't want to destroy the earth.
Yes, you do.
Man, we
You're
could
not my job.
used you for the bonfire yesterday because we couldn't get that shit to light up for nothing. We should have just like rubbed rocks on your feet to start a spark.
Boy, all I have to do is clap them together. That's all I need to do. That's the real stuff. Clapping my feet, tapping my feet. Where's your creepypasta? I wanna hear stuff.
In my hand.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Okay.
I'm ready.
Okay. Oh, do I start now?
Yes. What's the name of it?
I'm a professional.
What's it called?
It's called Mr. Widemouth. It is my favorite because it is adorable.
Tuck me in, Daddy. I'm ready.
Oh, I'll make you a burrito. Okay. I don't know. I already lost my place. Oh, okay. Stop! Some of us are idiots. Let me do this.
Little my power
Okay.
sluts.
I'm gonna go back and read that because there is just what the fuck. Oh. Okay, it's called Mr. Widemouth. When I was a child, my family moved around a lot. We never stayed in the same place for long, and it seemed as if we were always on the move. Because of this, many of my early memories are fuzzy and unclear. However, there is one period of time that remains as clear in my mind as though it all happened just yesterday. I often wonder whether these memories were simply hallucinations caused by long sickness I experienced that spring, but in my heart I know they are real. Ooh, spooky. We were living in a large house on the outskirts of the city. As a family of 3, we didn't really need such a big home, and there were a number of rooms that were never used during the 5 months we spent there. In some ways, it was a waste of space, but fuck that. It was only a house that we could find at the time, and it was close to my father's place of work. Yeah, work it, Daddy. The day after my 5th birthday, I came down with a terrible fever. Oh, Lord.
Oh
The
shit.
doctor said I had to rest in bed for 3 weeks and concentrate on getting well.
He got COVID.
Oh, yeah. He got the early stages.
Oh, dude, I almost spit the water out. Stop.
It was a horrible time to be bedridden, as we were getting ready to move, and most of my toys were already packed away in boxes.
Bad
My
dragon.
bedroom was almost empty, and I had very little to keep myself entertained. Fucking sleep, you dumbass. My mother brought me some ginger ale and a few books several times a day. Other than that, there was precious little... What the fuck? There was precious little for me to do. That made no sense. Who the fuck wrote this? I was always bored and grew more miserable by the day. I don't exactly recall how I met Mr. Widemouth. I think it was about a week after I was diagnosed with the fever and confined to bed.
The fever.
Yeah, exactly. Why didn't they fucking specify? It's COVID. My first memory of him is when I asked him if he had a name. He told me to call him Mr. Widemouth because his mouth was large. I like how easy that is to deal with. In fact, everything about him was large. And that's why this is my favorite story.
I love how you're just making yourself laugh. We don't have to do
I
anything.
know. It's awful. This is why I can't read. In fact, everything about him was large in comparison to his body.
The stars.
His head, his eyes, his crooked ears, ... His mouth was by far the largest. You look kind of like a Furby, I said, as he flipped through one of my books. Mr. Widemouth stopped and gave me a puzzled look. Furby? What the fuck is a Furby? He asked. I shrugged. You know, the toys. The little furry robots with big-ass ears. You can pet them and feed them, and almost like they're real pets. Oh, he replied. You don't need one of those. They aren't the same as having a friend.
I beg to differ.
I remember that Mr. Widemouth seemed to disappear every time my mother stopped by to check on me. I hide under your bed, he later explained. I don't want your parents to see me because I'm afraid they won't let us play together anymore. We didn't do much during those first few days. Mr. Widemouth just looked at my books, fascinated with the stories and pictures they contained. The third or fourth morning after I met him, he greeted me with a large smile on his face. I have a new game we can play, he said. Now I get why. Okay. We have to wait until your mother comes to check on you because she can't see us play it. It's a secret game.
Uh-oh. That's stranger danger right there.
Exactly. My mother came in with a few more books and some soda in the usual time. After she left, Mr. Widemouth slipped out from under the bed and tugged me by the hand. Not my hand. We have to go to the room at the end of the hallway, he said. I objected at first because my parents had forbidden me to leave my bed without their permission. Mr. Widemouth persisted until finally I gave in. God damn, this is stranger danger. The room at the end of the hall had no furniture or wallpaper.
Gasp.
His sense of saving himself. Its only distinguishing feature was a window opposite the doorway. Mr. Widemouth darted across the room and gave the window a firm push, flinging it open. Then he beckoned to me and told me to look out at the ground below. We were on the second floor of the house. It was on a hill, and from this angle, the drop was more than 2 floors due to the incline. I like to play pretend up here, Mr. Widemouth explained. I pretend that there is a big soft trampoline below this window, and I jump.
Oh.
If you pretend hard enough, you can bounce back up like a feather. I want you to try. I was a 5-year-old with high fever, so I wasn't thinking very clearly as I looked down and considered the possibility. It's a long drop, I said. But that's all part of the fun.
Mr. Widemouth's gonna pull a Homelander and push him off.
He should. That's all part of the fun, he replied. It wouldn't be fun if it was only a short drop. If it were that way, you may as well just bounce on a real trampoline. Oh, fuck, the logic.
I know, right? Oh my god.
I would have jumped. I toyed with the idea, picturing myself falling through thin air only to bounce back into the window on something unseen by human eyes. But the realist in me prevailed. Loser. Maybe some other time, I said. I don't know if I have enough imagination. I could get hurt. Mr. Widemouth's face contorted into a snarl, but only for a moment. Anger gave way to disappointment. If you say so, he sighed. He spent the rest of the day under my bed, quiet as a mouse. The following morning, Mr. Widemouth arrived holding a small box. I want to teach you how to juggle, he said. Here are some things you can use to practice before I start giving you lessons. I looked in the box. I know, he's so nice. I looked in the box. It was full of knives. My parents will kill me, I shouted, horrified that Mr. Widemouth had brought knives into my room. My parents would never allow me to touch them. I'll be spanked and grounded for a year. That's not a punishment nowadays. Mr. Widemouth frowned. It's fun to juggle with these. I want you to try it. I pushed the box away. I can't. I'll get in trouble. Knives aren't safe to just throw around in the air. Wow, this kid's a pussy.
That's
Mr.
mean.
Widemouth. I am. Mr. Widemouth frown deepened into the scowl. He took the box of knives and then slid himself under my bed. He remained there for the rest of the day. I began to wonder how often he was under there. Like, he lives there. There's nothing to I started having trouble sleeping after that. Mr. Widemouth often woke me up at night saying he put a real trampoline under the window, a big invisible one. He said that I couldn't see it in the dark. I always declined and tried to go back to sleep, but Mr. Widemouth persisted. Sometimes he stayed by my side until early in the morning, encouraging me to jump. He wasn't so fun to play with anymore. Why? Sounds like a
I'd
blast.
be like, come with me. I'm gonna land on you.
Yeah, like it was gonna be a blast. My mother came to me one morning and told me I was well enough to go outside and walk around for a while. She thought the fresh air would do me some good, especially after being confined to a room for so long. Mamas know stuff. Like, mamas know. Ecstatic, I put on my sneakers and trotted out to the back porch, yearning to feel the sun on my face.
Ew.
Mr. Widemouth was outside waiting for me. That little asshole. He could have gone outside. Fuck that kid. I have something I want you to see, he said. I must have given him a weird look because he added, it's safe, I promise. Because you're a pussy. I followed him, and he led me to a trail that ran through the woods behind the house. This is an important path, he explained. I have lots of friends about your age. When they were ready, I took them down this path to a special place. You aren't ready yet, but one day I hope to take you there. I returned to the house, wondering what kind of place lay at the end of the trail. 2 weeks after I met Mr. Widemouth, we packed the last of our belongings into a moving truck, and were about to set off on a long drive to our new home. I considered telling Mr. Widemouth that I would be leaving, but even at 5 years old, I was beginning to suspect that perhaps his intentions were not to my benefit.
No shit.
Despite that, what he claimed, for the reason I decided to keep my departure secret. What a jerk. You know, you make a friend and you don't tell him you're leaving.
I would be so upset.
I would be devastated.
It's the story of my life.
Ooh.
What? I tell you every time I'm leaving.
Hashtag ghosted.
You're such crazy. Oh.
Let's talk about that girl that one.
Yo,
time.
that kid should ask Mr. Widemouth, yo, Mr. Widemouth, what that mouth do?
Oh, that kid learned in that room. I'm pretty sure Mr. Widemouth took away the door. It was 4 a.m. by the time we were ready to leave. My mother helped me into the truck and my father was sitting behind the wheel. I placed my head against the window, hoping to get some sleep before the sun came up. As we backed out the driveway, I looked up and saw Mr. Widemouth's silhouette in my bedroom window. Yeah, he's pissed. He stood there motionless until the truck was about to turn to the main road. He gave a pitiful little wave goodbye with a steak knife in his heather hand. I didn't wave back. Years later, I was passing through the area and decided to return and pay a visit to the house. I found that the piece of land our house had stood on was empty, except for the foundation. The house had been burned down a few years after we left. Out of curiosity, I followed the trail that Mr. Widemouth had shown me. Part of me expected him to jump out from behind a tree and scare the living fuck out of me. But I felt that Mr. Widemouth was gone somehow, and somehow tied to the house that no longer existed. The trail ended at a small child's cemetery. Noticed that many of the tombstones belonged to children. Oh, so spooky scary.
Is that it?
Oh, he dodged the bullet. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
Wow. Thoughts and prayers
My
to all
favorite
those
because
kids.
it's horrible.
Thoughts and prayers.
He was trying to encourage child suicide.
I thought creepypastas were just about video games. I learned something today.
Just like a lot of, hey, yeah, it's just a bunch of children being like, maybe I should jump from this window.
So, you want to go next, Jen, or you want me to go?
Let's see. I will go next.
Oh,
We're
boy.
gonna save the best for last, which is you! Yay!
Oh, I don't know about that, but okay.
You're like our little pumpkin spice latte.
Now, for today's creepypasta, I got mine from the best. The best. I'm sorry. I did wet head. I'm sorry. I can't say that. It's good faith. Oh, alright. Now that that's out of the way, creepypasta stories. Gather around, my pretty little killers, and enjoy some creepypasta stories. Try not to be scared. Don't have nightmares. And hope this won't ruin your childhood. Story 24, Pokemon Blood Edition. It's
Oh,
Pokemon.
damn.
Are you ready?
Almost.
This is by Alyssa_the_killer. Thanks, Alyssa the Killer. I can't wait to be scared.
Oh, damn.
Ever had a favorite game? A game that you just couldn't put down? Welcome to my Christian autumn. A game that just had to be finished? Well, my friend Steve and I were hanging out one day. This was back when we were younger, 10 or 11, if I recall correctly. Anyways, we had just saved up quite a bit of money from our allowances and doing odd jobs, mowing the neighbor's lawn and whatnot. And finally had enough to each get a Game Boy Advance and one game apiece.
Oh, damn.
Steve was so excited. He was jumping with joy in a literal sense. I know. We entered the game store, and all over the shelves were hundreds of games for a bunch of consoles. I turned to look for my friend and saw him take to a store employee. Oh, it says talking.
No way he took them.
The employee nodded and walked away from him. Steve strolled casually towards me with a wicked grin on his face. Hey man, guess what? He said. Let me guess. They don't have any Pokemon games, I responded, slightly bummed. Actually, they only have one game left, he said in an eager tone. Here's what I'm thinking. We pull our money together and I'll borrow the game for a week and then you can borrow the game. Okay, whatever. I was reluctant to agree to this, but then, again, we were besties. So I accepted they remained happy that whatever words that are coming out of my mouth just don't make sense right now, and they just wanted to enjoy the game. The clerk came back and stood in the door. I messed that up. In the doorway, just staring at Steve. Steve walked over and handed him a $20 bill.
What is he, the snack?
I know, right? And then put something in his shit pocket. I'm not joking. It says HISSHIT.
His sheet pocket.
Yeah, like I just walked out of the store with a smile. The clerk went back to stocking the shelves and completely forgot I was standing there. Well, I left and went home. After the first night, period, shit. I'm like, this is verbatim.
Yeah, period.
It says, that's what it says. I'll be honest, I really wanted to play that game, but I think I can wait it out. Come on. I mean, he would want me to give him some time to play. Am I right? So, because it's my Christian autumn, I had to continue about my day. Well, a few days go by, and I noticed to call Steve. I decided to call Steve to see what he was up to. There was no answer. I thought maybe he was home. Maybe his family were at. I'm not even joking. This is what it said. WEARREAAREAHNT.
The creepiest thing about this story so far is the grammar.
Yeah, like this is terrifying me.
I'm reading this.
Word
I'm
for word.
I'm stumbling because of I'm spelling the words that I just can't read. I'm just like, okay, maybe his family were out or something. On the 6th day, I saw a television report about a boy who had gone missing. The picture was Steve. I rushed over to his house and I found that his parents were out sobbing outside. Johnny? Let me spell this for you. WEERAARE. Hey, I responded with uneasiness. Are you okay? The only thing I had left was this. She said in mournful voice as she passed me a piece of paper. It was a note written in dark red ink. It read, "Game over." I don't understand what it means, his mother cried. Do you mind if I check his room? I asked, rather determined. I had a feeling I knew what he meant in his note. Headbulous. I'm not joking. It says NOTE.GHBULS. What the fuck? I kind of want to just take a screen cap. Okay. Sure, she whispered, almost hopeless. I ran into his house and headed for his room. The strange thing was that nothing looked out of place. He had an old wooden desk, and under a couple of comic books, I saw the corner of what appeared to be a game cartridge. Picking it up and looking at it, it was ... creepy ... It wasn't the normal type of Pokemon game, comma. The case was a deep red. And the picture on it, the front on it, was of Pikachu. I didn't have much time to inspect the cartridge, so I tucked it away in my pocket and walked out of the room. Leaving my house, I tried to think of where he could have gone, but nothing came to mind. I ended up getting home at 6 p.m., and after I took my jacket off and took a shit, then my pocket struck the ground. It fell out of my pocket, the game. It made me take a step back. The cartridge was lying face down. I stopped for a moment, then realized that this was a Pokemon game. Was probably the last thing Steve had before he went missing. I picked up the game and examined the label. It had a picture of what appeared to be Pikachu on the front. At least I think it's Pikachu, though it looked to be black. Whatever that's supposed to mean, am I supposed to be offended by this?
Yeah, that's racist.
Exactly. With piercing red eyes. I grabbed my Game Boy and put the game in the slot. Pausing for a moment, I flipped the button on, and nothing happened. This was weird. I had just put brand new batteries in this thing. Well, I opened some of the drawers and put a pack of batteries that only had 2 left. My lucky day. I immediately popped out the batteries, and I'm trying to burp, which is why I'm struggling to read, and placed the ones in. I hit the power button again, and nothing happened. This is stupid, I thought to myself before placing the game on the desk. After about an hour or so of watching TV, I was so mad that I couldn't play the game. Johnny, your father and I are going out. You be good. We'll be back soon, my mother said before closing the front door behind her. I watched them drive in the rain. Oh. I continued to watch TV simply because there wasn't anything else to do. It was raining, getting dark, and the damn game wouldn't work. I stormed to my room in rage, annoyed, determined to find out because behind why my game wouldn't work. I closed my door behind me.
This fucking story is just her pissed off about a broken Game Boy.
God, Wattpad just makes my nose bleed. I closed my door behind me, and the only light illuminating me was the small light that I had. I wasn't scared of the dark or anything. The light was a skull, and it shadowed the skull on the wall. I picked it up immediately, and I'm just gonna pass it, and it's just gonna say, I picked up the game, and it said Game Boy, flashed across the black screen in a crimson color. Yes.
Did you call it a Game Boy?
I mean, at this point, yes. Yes. Yes, it's a Game Boy.
Oh, okay.
It's my favorite part of the story.
Oh, rainbows for life, motherfucker.
Right? Just tell me about it. Anyway, I've never seen any Game Boy start up like this. The Game Boy began with an intro, you know, the one with the Pokemon League battle. The first trainer called a Charizard, though the image was hyper-realistic, like a real dragon. I'm not joking. I'm reading it verbatim. Guys, I'm just saying.
This is hurting all of my feelings.
I know. When it showed the strong-willed Pokemon, its trainer could be seen in the background. It was Gary Oak. He looked to be crying, constantly weeping, not paying any attention to the Charizard that he had just called. The screen flickered. A shadowy figure was standing on a platform looking towards Gary. The only way I knew it was a person was the thin, gray outline of his body. The opponent threw a black Pokeball in front of the fire dragon. A Squirtle appeared. This Squirtle, however, had a black turtle shell. It was black with what appeared to be gashes in it. It had the sunglasses from the TV show.
Ah, spooky scary.
Right? Squirtle used sludge. It stuck Charizard's tail, Charizard, whatever.
Goddamn game
I know.
I'm not happy about this.
But Kristen, it was super effective.
What?
Charizard has died. The screen flickered once more. The original Pokemon logo appeared, and the words Blood Edition in red appeared underneath before the menu popped up. How was this a kid's game? I wondered. But for some reason, I just sat there staring at the main screen. There was only one option to select. It was continue. I tapped A and the saved file popped up. There was only one file. A trainer with 6 Pokemon. And time played was 99 hours, 99 minutes, and 99 seconds. But
Jesus, alarm clock.
Okay.
But the strangest thing about this file was the trainer name. It wasn't Ash, or Red, or even Steve. The name of the game was Johnny. That's my name. Hesitantly, I tapped A and selected the file. The game screen screeched once more. Then an image of my sprite was shown, standing on the edge of a virtual cliff. Before making my moves, I checked the stats of the character. I actually had a pretty good solid group, you know. I'm pretty badass, and I mimicked Pokemon of Ashes. Bulbasaur, Charmisha, Squirtisha, Butterfreesha, Lugia, you know? And the last Pokeball was blacked out. I just assumed that Pokemon had fainted and was unusable. Well, that, and because the other Pokemon had very low health, pretty much 10 hit points apiece. I checked my character stats, and where the image of my sprites was supposed to be was just a blacked out image. I shrugged it off and closed out and began to walk. I was on what appeared to be a cliff of Mount Moon. There was something wrong. It looked like bones were scattered all around my sprite. I walked to what appeared to be a cave entrance in the mountain. Upon walking into the darkness, my sprite was knocked back to the cliff, and a sprite resembling Professor Oak walked out. I walked up to him and tapped A through, though when I did, his dialogue box came up. Oh, Gary, why didn't you listen to me? You were the best, but you were too stubborn. The professor had stopped at the far end of the cliff. I slowly walked over to him, and once more I tapped A. Only a Pokemon master can control them, his spirit said before walking off the cliff. The game then flickered as if reacting to something hitting the ground. Then a high-pitched screech noise played. Did I just watch a person commit suicide? I swallowed my fear and headed back to the entrance of the cave.
She swallows.
That was sick.
Wow. Well, let me get some water.
Yeah.
I'm gonna just skip this part. Boy, it sure is dark in here. The battle music instantly started playing. I was startled for it. The dialogue returned. Surrender now or prepare to fight. My opponent appeared to be Jesse and James from Team Rocket, but he looked incredibly sad on top of that. He was all by himself. Oh, apparently it's just James.
Oh, poor James.
I know. Trainer James had chosen Weezing. Jessie didn't listen. She was too stubborn. After seeing the Weezing, I had noticed his HP was at 5, and the image of Pokemon was completely blacked out, aside from his eyes and the white X on his body. I chose Charmisha. Weezing with suffocation. Weezing used suffocation, but Weezing has died. Charmander has died. What the hell? I've been playing. I've never heard of Pokemon techniques called that before. I wasn't too mad, though. I had 4 more usable Pokemon left. He had Charizard, not Charmander. Like, he changed it.
I'm mad for everybody involved. Oh my god.
Pardon my language. I didn't mean to use the F word. This is a Christian show. Sorry. Only a Pokemon Master can control them. Team Rocket trainer James has died. At this point, 2 people had died. I'm terrified. I really didn't feel like playing anymore. This game was making me sick. I checked my inventory. I only had a single revive, and when I tried to select it, it simply got a response. It's too soon to use this now. So I pressed on. There had to be a reason why this file was left at Mount Moon. Boy, it sure was dark in here. I came across a ladder ascending to the top of the levels, blah, 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 blah. Who did we see? It was a gravestone.
They didn't have to use Flash.
There's no indication of this, so I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
this story is bullshit, and I would have been more frustrated at which Pokemon gets Flash.
That's fair. That I agree. A residential
Bye.
Pokemon trainer,
God.
guys. Give it up.
I'm mad.
We're almost done. Anyway, the battle music started playing and the opponent appeared. It was a depiction of Ash, though he looked
Deception.
savagely beaten. His eyes were missing, and so was chunks of his flesh. Trainer Ash. I know.
How do you?
Trainer Ash is,
The
what?
Game Boy doesn't have good graphics like that. I call shenanigans.
Seriously.
Oh my gosh. Trainer Ash chooses Haunter. I decided to choose Squirtle because, Squirtle would you be able to hit Haunter? Anyway, Haunter used Fear. The screen flickered a couple times and a painful cry echoed through my speakers. Squirtle has died. I chose Butterfree. Haunter used Torment. Butterfree has died. I began to feel sad of these Pokemon are just dying and I can't stop it.
What?
Haunter
Wait.
has run away. What?
No. Torment only appear. No, it's not in fucking. I'm done.
Yes. Well, first of all, there were only 2 Pokemon left, Bulbasaur and Pidgeotto, and only a Pokemon Master can control them. I climbed the ladder, and I was on what appeared to be a peak of a mountain. The snow was heavy, and the screen was dimly lit. After a few steps, the sprite collapsed. It's hard to breathe up here. The screen flickered once more, and I could have sworn that I saw a skull flash across the screen. When the game returned to normal, there was a sprite standing directly in front of mine. It was a shadow. I am a Pokemon Master, ... The screen began flashing red and black with a twisted version of the battle music playing. A shadow chose Squirtle. This Pokemon looked different. The shell was black, and it was wearing a blackened sunglasses. But the strangest thing about this Pokemon was its skin. It wasn't its usual aqua blue. The skin was red and dripping with blood. A Squirtle is still a Squirtle, I thought to myself, and selected Bulbisha. Used Vine Whip. Squirtle used Acid. Bulbasaur dies. Then Pidgeotto used his wing attack. Charizard was unaffected. Charizard used Flamethrower. Pidgeotto fell from the sky, was burning alive. Its cries of pain rung throughout my whole house. I had lost. Are you a Pokemon Master? An option appeared. I just stared at the options, but I was lost. A Pokemon Master wouldn't lose. Then I began to wonder, maybe this was a second chance. I selected yes. An eerie sound began to play. It was Twisted. My inventory opened and Revive was selected. I chose to revive the unknown Pokemon I had from the beginning. I finally knew that my sixth Pokemon was...
Who the fuck was it?
Pikachu.
Yeah, what was it?
Pikachu, the electric mouse Pokemon.
God damn it.
Finally.
No asshole gets too much airtime.
It does. Pikachu used shock. The screen suddenly went black, and so did my nightlight. I was too scared to move. All I could do was stare blankly at the screen. This Pikachu, however, was holding an evil warped Pokeball. Pikachu used Shadow Ball. Mine was swallowed up completely as the ball rolled back and forth. Shrieks of pain and fear resonated through my speakers. You are not a Pokemon Master, the Shadow said. Then the game turned off. Well, the years have passed, and I haven't really told anyone about this game. Well, except for my psychiatrist. And I had completely forgotten about it until my son told me he was gonna be a Pokemon Master just like Steve. I corrected him. You mean Ash, right? Oh, I mean Steve. And then he walked back to his room with a smile.
Is that it?
That's it. The end. I'm not joking. That's the end.
And she proudly fucking killed herself.
Torment was introduced in fucking Gen 3. Don't even with me. Like, no.
I'm so proud of you. Thank you for schooling them. And plus, they were playing a Game Boy Advanced, but they made it seem like a Game Boy. So I was
like, if it, systems, people, we need actual naming systems. Second, fucking Butterfree would have been better against Haunter, but you know, using bug type moves apparently doesn't hit Haunter. Which is just a bit of bullshit.
Oh.
Wow, that was a wild ride.
3, get rid of Pikachu because its defense and attack stats are garbage. Fuck that Pokemon. It's not worth it.
Ooh,
Listen, I played throughout the entirety. I played throughout the entirety of Pokemon Yellow with Pikachu.
Like, I don't give a fuck. Charizard can beat a Squirtle because its attack stats and defense stats are way better than the fucking Squirtle's.
Oh.
Like, and fucking Bubble Beam or fucking even Water Gun doesn't do enough damage to fucking bring Charizard's fucking HP down.
See, I got Grandma started.
You did, man.
Yes, you did.
Yeah.
It was worth it. It was worth it.
How dare you? Okay, 5.
Pikachu's not weak. I beat all of Pokemon Yellow only using Pikachu.
Yeah, because that's what the game's designed for.
Yeah. It was rigged in Pikachu's favor.
Yeah, absolutely. The only good part about that game was that you could teach Pikachu Surf, and even if you evolved him, his stats are still garbage.
Ooh, I'm telling.
Oh, do it.
Yeah.
Do it.
Well,
I'll
actually,
fight
he doesn't get better until Diamond and Pearl, where you just use Double Kick as Raichu, and then it's like unbeatable.
Even that, like, even if you give him like Carbos and like all this stat enhancing crap, still garbage.
Just make steroids for Pokemon already.
Oh, dude, they pretty much do in the game. And they encourage it.
All right, I'm gonna read mine.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do
Yes,
mine now.
please.
I picked out two. One is like, one plays out like a Goosebumps episode. They try to make it grounded and realistic, and the other one's kind of just like kind of goofy and over the top. You guys picked that one, which is about Mario Kart 64. So I'm gonna do it. It's called Mario Kart 64: Driven. Here we go. Growing up as a kid in the mid 90s, I was a Nintendo child through and through. Weekend upon weekend would go by as my brother and I played Super Nintendo and N64 until the cows came home. But then I was especially partial to my brother's N64 and the set of games he had with it. As a result, they got played a lot more and made Mario Kart 64 my favorite game. Nazi zombies and Modern Warfare may have taken up most of my gaming time as it became part of the Xbox Live age, but Mario Kart 64 still held a place in my heart as my all-time favorite.
Okay.
All the time was before... Why are you laughing?
Because I thought, like, the zombies were in the fucking Mario game. I'm like, wait a minute, that doesn't happen. And then you kept talking, and I was like, oh, no, alright.
So engaged. All of that was before these past 2 weeks. Now, I won't touch an N64 at all, and I rarely play any Nintendo titles. A few months back, I brashly sold my N64 and my SNES at a yard sale my family was holding. Avarice and arrogance were brought to me by my discovery of emulators. In my eyes, their ability to deliver classic games in unlimited quantity at no cost was second to none. I don't remember much about that yard sale, but the family who I sold it to left a distinct memory in my mind. The family consisted of a small Hispanic woman with two very young children. She didn't know much English.
Relatable.
Oh, yeah.
She didn't know much English, and at the time I didn't know any Spanish. That is very, very relatable. The language barrier complicated things, but it didn't hinder the sale entirely. She walked off with the SNES and the N64 with roughly 20 games in total, and I walked off for $40. It hadn't taken me long to realize this was an obtuse decision. When my brother found out, he was frustrated. He agreed to help me get it back. He came into town 2 weeks ago, and on the second day, we headed off to our local used game shop. The store was a nice little place called Game Giant. My brother knew the owner and employees well, and he had gotten a lot of his PS2 games from them, but before he moved into a place of his own. As fate would have it, the very woman I sold it to would sell my N64 to the shop. We got it for $50, which was pretty cheap. The budget wouldn't allow for any games, however, so we were under the impression we would walk out empty-handed. After we explained our financial predicament to the owner, he told us that they had a copy of Mario Kart 64 they were giving away for free. Oddly enough, he waited for all the other customers to leave before he gave it to us. His hands were shaking and he started to stutter. He also let us know that there was more than entitled to a refund should we choose to take it back. Now, I had believed in ghosts, and still do, but the idea of a haunted video game seemed implausible to me. My brother was a total skeptic and agreed with me. Thinking nothing of the store owner's strange behavior, we went home, ready for a night filled with revived memories. We arrived back at about 4. Versus was our first order of business. I chose Toad, my personal favorite from childhood, because of his unparalleled acceleration. My brother chose Luigi, his personal favorite because he's the fastest of all the medium weight characters. Shells were tossed and bananas were thrown until 6. We had dinner, and then we delved into the Grand Prix races. All the cups were completed on gold. Whoever played this game was pretty close to getting everything, as the only thing left to complete were the reverse cups. It wasn't any fun to build upon someone else's file, so we went to the data to clear it. The lap times read all the same, 6 minutes and 66 seconds. Not only was this really creepy, but also really illogical. How could someone...
Oh, creepy.
How could someone get a perfect Grand Prix record with time trials like that? My brother, being the skeptic that he was, suggested it was someone trying to mess with us. Sure. Not being inclined to disagree, I cleared the data with the press of a button. That was undoubtedly the worst decision I have ever made in my life. The game shut off by itself. Only static could be seen and heard for a good 5 minutes.
Wait, I have to pee. I'm too excited.
Go pee.
Wait. Keep reading. I'll pee. I'll be right back.
Hurry!
Okay.
I'm so scared.
Dominantly audible was the depressed, scared voice of Mario repeating a cryptic phrase. You have driven us, he said, and cleared melancholia. And now, you must watch us suffer. My brother thought this was just
Let's go!
My brother thought this was just something someone programmed into the cartridge. I had been playing this game the entire time after dinner, and I refused to play it after what happened. My brother was visibly shaken, but he still wanted to prove to me nothing out of the ordinary was wrong with this game. So he played it with me watching the next morning. He switched on the game without incident. The start, menu, and player select screens were all normal. He chose the Star Cup and started the first race. All of the characters looked normal, except things were very wrong. The borders on the sides of the track didn't display their usual Wario Stadium. Instead, they read, "You will pay." When the race started, Lakitu had a menacing smirk on his face. Evil would be the best way to describe it. After his sign said the number 1, he said, "Die," rather than "Go." Every time someone slipped on a banana, they didn't make the cheerful, cartoonish outbursts they would usually make.
Okay, I'm back.
Their cart...
Welcome back.
Alright. Their cart would sputter out and black smoke would begin to fume out of the engine, accompanied by their screams and cries for help. My brother's character, Luigi, hurled his first close-range red shell in the entire race. It hit Yoshi with an explosive crash, and his cart went to pieces. The familiar little dinosaur was now bisected just past the spine, crawling along the track and begging for this to end. My brother was now visibly perturbed, but he pressed on and finished the race anyway. Right when he passed the finish line, a distorted version of the victory theme played, accompanied by a slow, distorted, demonic laugh and several explosion sounds. As Luigi made his victory lap, all of the racers whose carts were smoking had died as their cart exploded. Charred 64-bit body parts littered the course as a plume of smoke hovered the racetrack. In front of all the racers' names, it said, R.I.P. After this was finished, he shut it off. The TV stayed on as he flicked the switch, and Mario appeared on the screen. His cart was a mangled mess besides his sprawled body. Bones protruded from his arms and legs, and patches of flesh were missing, revealing his Italian muscles. His organs lay strewn on the floor around him as his body uncontrollably twitched in agony. His eyes were bloodshot and filled with tears. Blood and bruises covered his pained face. He was panting as if he were about to die. Mario had lost his cheerful animated look and donned a dreary, solemn one. He softly wept as he gave a grave warning. You should have never cleared that data. His record has died. Now we will die too. You have driven him to this, so you must watch us suffer. After all of that...
Stop.
After all of that, these words appeared on the screen in the game's colorful, upbeat font. You have driven us. You have driven him. My brother refused to play through the game's torture any longer. He couldn't, after seeing the game he had loved for so long, being perverted into this. I agreed to play in his place. So in exchange, he got a video camera to immortalize this madness. I had to scour courage to turn the system back on. Blood and gore by itself don't bother me. It was seeing all of the suffering. It was too much. But something inside me pushed the power button on the N64. I wish I had it, in the interest of my peace at mind and my sanity. The title screen showed the characters going down the hill. Donkey Kong was splitting Luigi's skull in half with a buzzsaw, as opposed to hoisting up a green shell. The look on his face wasn't one of mischief either. It was one of pure bloodlust, of sick elation from being the orchestrator of such chaos and carnage. Peach, Yoshi, and Mario
Oh, you do? Okay.
It's
Yeah.
too scary for
Love
you?
you guys.
It's too scary for you?
Oh, it's way too scary. Like, Christ.
I'll be brave for you, like how you were brave for me, and I won't poop my pants.
Okay, do the thing. Love again. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
I love this story already. It's so bad.
It is. That's why I picked it. Peach, Yoshi, and Mario had looks of primal fear at the scene, obviously trying to drive away. A cloudy, lightning, muddled sky replaced the mild orange sunset. Flames danced in the distance as what sounded like a heartbeat played in place of the cheery soundtrack. Bless you.
Thank you, sorry.
The exuberant, excited "Welcome to Mario Kart" was replaced by the sobs of Mario. The entire sight disgusted me, but I managed to press start. Whatever. The game catapulted me straight into the player select screen. The facial expressions of the characters had all drastically changed. All of the quote-unquote good characters, Mario, Luigi, Peach, and Toad, had an expression of utter horror on their faces. Some shook their heads nervously, while others remained completely still. Bowser, DK, and Wario were unanimously showing bloodlust. Not a playful, menacing look, but one of pure greed and evil. I moved over to Toad and selected him. Instead of his happy trademark, "Wahoo!" he started to weep mournfully. I was starting a race on a more dejected than usual version of Bowser's Castle. The music was the same, except it was lower pitched and much more ominous sounding. It sounded so creepy, it disturbed me. The first thing I noticed is that Peach was missing from the starting lineup. Lakitu had an even more nefarious looking expression than he did earlier in the Wario Stadium race. The same disturbing introduction produced itself once again. 3, 2, 1, die! All of the cars.
Wow, seriously?
Yes. All of the cars sped past the bridge. A flame-shooting statue of a demon stood in the place of where Bowser would be. Bowser, Wario, and DK all veered off to take their place next to the statue. An audible conversation could be heard, the satanic figure speaking in tongues not uttered by mortal men. All three of the villain characters appeared to be able to speak and understand this archaic language. Suddenly, a burst of flame shot out and killed Luigi. The three characters laughed in a sick tone, a tone that implied they were loving the sight of such dismay. Luigi's flesh was charred and his muscle was exposed in many places. As the villains all laughed, the demon repeated that cryptic reoccurring message. "You have driven us." Peach's fate was soon dismally apparent. As Mario and I drifted the corner to evade the deathly torch of the demon's breath, I spotted her behind the bars of the Womp cage. She was tied to him with a dick rope. Her eyes were missing from their sockets as she cried blood. Thick, coagulated blood stained the entire front of her dress. It's that time of the month. Every time the greenish rock dumped the ground, she threw up blood, creating a pool that filled up the entire bottom section of the translucent torture chamber. Wow. Through her torture, she emotionlessly choked out this resounding message. "You have driven them." The final dump, pieces of her body went flying everywhere. The Womp laughed. It's so dramatic, right?
Oh, jeez. It's like, it doesn't have to be that dramatic right now.
The Womp laughed in the same tone the three villains did. Mario and my character Toad were the only ones alive at this point. After what happened to Peach, my brother drew up in his mouth a little. I asked him if he had gotten everything on camera. He did, so I unpaused the game and continued the race. I had managed.
Oh my god!
These guys are so stupid. I had managed to dodge the bursts of flame emitting from the demonic statue all 3 laps. At this point, it wasn't even about winning or losing. It was about keeping my character alive. I didn't know what other dark forces this game possessed. Whatever was inside that game making all this happen wasn't going anywhere anytime soon, and I doubt its capacity for mercy. That is, assuming it would show me any. Should I possess it? I don't know what would happen to my character if I let him die, and I didn't want to find out. This was no longer a game. I felt as if someone's life was in the balance. Possibly mine. I finished first ahead of Mario, but a somber-sounding version of the losing thing played. Again, it said R.I.P. in front of our names. Except this time it was different. This time it said Richard, which is my name. The screen faded out to a womp laugh, which was scary in itself. I was then delivered to a sick version of a familiar environment. It was Rainbow Road, but there were no rainbows. Patterns of flesh, veins, eyeballs.
There was no road.
There was no road. Oh, there was no road either. Those patterns of flesh, veins, eyeballs, and other various internal body parts created the floor. Warrior Bowser and DK weren't present at this race. Mario and I were alone, waiting in grim anticipation for the race's dejected beginning. Our carts left tracks of blood. I went down the long track at the beginning. Mario performed a special trick. If you hop right before the drop gets steep, your cart will fly above everyone else's and you'll have a slight advantage. When Mario hit the ground, his wheels flew off his cart. His body landed on the track with a hyper-realistic crunch as he cried out in pain. His legs and arms were broken, and he pleaded with me to end it. He yelled out to me as I passed, "Run me over! End my suffering! Drive me!" The sky was filled with the stars as usual. The music that played was sped up, backwards rendition of Royal Raceway's soundtrack. The neon lights were altered. Instead of the happy-looking depictions of the characters, they were in agony. Each of them was suffering some sort of grotesque death. The three villainous characters just gave menacing looks, and they were all casting egregious death stares at my character. They also had speech bubbles saying things like, "You will burn." One of the comments especially disturbed me. It said, "You have driven us. You will pay." It was the final lap now. Lakitu laughed, and I could have sworn I heard something chuckle from my room. My brother did, and that was it for him. He told me to turn off the game or he was leaving. I obviously couldn't do that.
Off the game or I'm leaving.
Stop. I had no idea what would happen to Toad if I quit right then and there. I couldn't get past the guilt. Now it was a matter of life and death. The game conveyed the character's range of emotions so accurately for 64 bits. Wow. Much too accurately. I felt like if I left Toad hanging, I would be condemning him to an eternal hell. I had to keep playing. Mario was still lying there. He was barely alive, begging to be put out of his misery, but I refused to give that satisfaction to the game. I completed the race, and just like last time, it said, "R.I.P. Richard." My place now read 666 instead of first. I got really scared. How the hell did this game know I was playing? How could it speak to me? How did it know my name? Never before had a video game elicited emotions of such magnitude, elicited fear so primal. I persevered, hoping all of this madness would soon come to an end so I could preserve my sanity. What I saw next will haunt me forever. Toad spawned in front of the Mario 64 castle in Royal Raceway. All of the greenery was ablaze, and the waterfall filled surrounding the moat with blood. Macabre figures could be seen in the distance. The sky was black and filled with lightning as bursts of lava erupted in the distance. Where the yellow sand should have been laid, the flesh-like ground I encountered on Rainbow Road. I legitimately feared for my life at this point. This place looked like hell. No, it was hell.
It was hell.
Oh my god, it's like you're here. It had to be had to be pressing on and gripping terror. I approached the winner's podium as blood flew up behind me. Jesus Christ, it's like The Shining.
I know, right?
Bowser was in first, DK was in second, Wario was in third. They were all laughing as the fire-breathing demon from Bowser's castle stood behind them with a greedy smirk. The floating fish was above, a look of stark bloodlust cast across its eerie shadowed face. Behind the podium stood the characters in the states right before they died, disfigured and clinging to life. Except their eyes were all missing. They were bleeding like Peach was earlier. That soulless look looming in their sockets. They were unable to see anything, but they were staring at me. Their faces no longer displayed expressions of suffering or anguish. They were blank, looks bereft of any expression. You have driven us, they said as one. Suddenly, the swelling noise was made as if the trophy was about to come out. Instead, it was much different. Blood went everywhere as a huge sword came down and sliced Bowser in half. The demon tore apart everyone else as Toad watched. He spared Toad for some reason. At the last moment, Toad turned to face the screen, his eyes now profusely bleeding and soulless. He chanted in unison with the demon beside him. You have left us. You have damned us. You have driven us. The game then shut off by itself. I tried removing the cartridge, but it burned my hand. It was steaming on the surface, so I took a nearby sweater and threw it on my driveway. I got my brother to burn it with me. While it was burning, we decided to see if the footage had been properly captured. The video had disappeared. My brother said he stopped the recording within the limit, so it should have been there. All we found was a single picture. It was a portrait of Mario crying blood as he did in the game. It read, "You have driven us" on the bottom. As the outer plastic melted from the game shell, the sound of screams came from my room. I ran in my room to see what was going on. The door to my bathroom was open. Walking in, I was pushed to the point of tears. My sink was filled with blood. Written on the mirror were these words, "It will never end. You have driven us."
Wow. This
And
Need for Speed sequel is quite terrifying. Actually, that was a better ending than the Pokemon one. That one was actually like, this one has potential. I think you read a good one.
Yeah, a quote unquote good one. It was okay. It was just I just liked it because it was so goofy. It was like so cliche, like blood everywhere. Their eyeballs are black. Like that's why
It's like, what's scary? Blood and bones. Yeah.
But yeah, it was fun. It was a good time.
That's so funny.
All right, well, you want to end things off?
Well, I'd just like to say reading is fundamental, and I hope you enjoyed these terrible, hilarious creepypastas.
Yeah, and I hope you guys have a safe Halloween. Trick or treat, but do it social distancing, and wear a mask with your costume, because hey, that's what we all got to do, right?
Exactly.
And
unless you're like me and dress up as a Game Boy and have a screen in front.
Yeah, and if you have the Avengers game, they're doing half price on the marketplace, so you could finally get that Captain America costume you've been trying to get for 2 months. And yeah, you can play some new missions, but your gear has to be 140.
Damn.
Now, the game becomes fun when you actually upgrade your character. You feel more like a badass.
Well, because, the aesthetics are there. I have a feeling that they're going to update it. It's going to look better. But there should be a creepypasta about that game.
Ooh. Well, we're living through a year-long creepypasta, so...
Oh my gosh, right?
Yeah, imagine...
Tell us... Oh.
Imagine 2020 is
Imagine
just... No, imagine someone's writing a creepypasta in 2020 and it's just coming to life.
And then all of the DLC became free, but with the price of your character dying in real life. Like, I could just see it be written like that.
Exactly. This upcoming election's gonna be a creepypasta.
Oh, amen to that. Oh my gosh.
Well, on the next exciting episode of Yoko and Frisky's Dimensional Rift, we will see, well, we will have an idea what the next 4 years will be like in America. Find out next time.
Yeah.
Be safe. God bless you.